ever stumble upon a place in like a history book or something and you're just like, whoa, how have I never even heard of this?
Hmm.
That's Great Zimbabwe for me.
Yeah.
Like we're talking a whole city of stone just rising out of the African plains,
Right.
walls 36 feet high, crazy intricate designs, and get this, all without any mortar.
Amazing.
It's a site that's had archaeologists puzzled for centuries, and the story is way more interesting than any textbook I ever read, that's for sure.
I bet.
So today we are traveling back in time to the 11th to the 15th centuries,
Okay.
to a period when Great Zimbabwe was this, like, I don't know, really important trade hub with connections stretching all the way over to China.
What's really interesting is how long Great Zimbabwe was this like mystery to European explorers.
Really?
Yeah, it really challenged their preconceptions about, Africa and civilizations and history and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, like, trekking through Africa and then, boom, these huge ruins.
Right.
You'd think people would be blown away.
You'd think so.
But instead of attributing this incredible feat to the people who clearly built it, their minds went to, like,
Let me guess.
King Solomon
Of course.
and the Queen of Sheba.
Had to be them, right?
Right.
It's funny because even back then it seemed pretty out there, but people really wanted to believe it.
Yeah, why, though?
Well, you have to remember the whole like mindset back then,
Uh-huh.
Europeans, they had this way of looking at the world.
Oh,
They truly believed that their civilization
yeah.
was the most advanced, the most, important.
Right.
So when they came across something as impressive as Great Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
it just didn't compute for them.
Right.
It challenged their whole worldview.
Right.
So they had to find a way to explain it, to fit it into their existing narrative.
And that explanation was to say, oh, well, it had to be someone else, someone more advanced who built it.
Exactly. And that someone was often biblical figures or lost civilizations from other continents,
Makes sense, I guess.
Like take Karl Mach, for example. He was this German explorer in the late 19th century,
Okay.
and he was convinced that Great Zimbabwe was the work of the Queen of Sheba.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He even claimed to have found Lebanese cedar at the site.
What? Like they had some ancient lumber delivery going on?
Right. Totally ridiculous. He said it was proof that the Phoenicians were involved somehow.
Oh, wow.
Like as if the people already living there weren't capable of building something incredible.
Right, right.
And it wasn't just him either. Carl Peters, another European explorer, he tried to connect Great Zimbabwe to ancient Egypt.
Oh, yeah. Didn't he use that whole Ushabti thing as evidence?
Exactly. That infamous Ushabti statue.
Yeah, what was that all about?
It was like the perfect example of too good to be true turned out to be a fake.
Oh, no.
Yeah, probably from a much later period in Egyptian history.
So it was like they were trying to write Africans out of their own history.
Basically.
Instead of giving credit where credit was due, they came up with these crazy theories.
Exactly. It's a common theme, unfortunately.
It's so frustrating. Thankfully, some people were actually looking at the evidence.
Right. And thank goodness for those folks. People like David Randall McIver and Gertrude Caton Thompson.
Who are they?
They were archaeologists in the early 20th century who took a very different approach to Great Zimbabwe.
What did they do?
Well, they actually listened to what the evidence was telling them.
Okay.
They excavated the site, they carefully documented their findings,
Uh-huh.
and they used scientific methods like radiocarbon dating to determine the age of the ruins.
And what did they find?
Well, their work revolutionized our understanding of Great Zimbabwe.
Oh, so?
Their findings were like a breath of fresh air, cutting through all those wild theories and speculation.
So they basically debunked all that stuff about King Solomon and the Egyptians.
Exactly. The evidence they uncovered pointed to a completely different story.
Okay, I'm hooked.
The radiocarbon dating consistently showed that Great Zimbabwe was built and occupied between the 12th and 15th centuries.
Okay, so that lines up with what we know about those incredible trade routes connecting Great Zimbabwe to the rest of the world.
Right. And it gets even more interesting when you consider the link to the Shona people.
The Shona people?
Yes. They're an ethnic group in southern Africa, and guess what?
What?
The pottery found at Great Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
It bears striking similarities to the pottery of the Gokomir culture.
The who?
The Gokomir culture.
Oh.
But guess what?
I'm guessing they're connected to the Shona people.
Bingo.
No.
The Gokomirs are widely believed to be ancestors of the modern Shona people.
Wow, it's like those pottery shards were little whispers from the past, telling a story about cultural heritage and continuity.
Absolutely. It's like piecing together a puzzle, isn't it?
Totally. Okay, so tell me about these Go-Khmer folks.
All right, picture this. It's 200 AD,
Okay.
long before Great Zimbabwe as we know it even existed.
Mm-hmm.
The Go-Khmer people are already thriving in this region.
Doing what?
They were skilled farmers. They knew how to work with iron. They had a complex social structure.
Interesting.
They were probably connected to other Bantu groups in the area, like the Venda people.
Tridenda people, okay.
Some experts even think they acted as a kind of bridge, culturally speaking, between the earlier Mapungubwe civilization and the later Shona society that built Great Zimbabwe.
Wow, a cultural bridge across centuries.
Exactly. It's fascinating to think about how these different cultures interacted and influenced each other over time.
Okay, so we have this skilled, well-established culture in the Go-Khmer.
Right.
But what made them go from that to building these massive stone structures?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
What causes a society to undergo such a dramatic transformation?
It's like what sparked that incredible burst of creativity and ambition?
Exactly. And to be honest, there's no easy answer.
Really?
It's a question that continues to fascinate historians and archaeologists today.
Mm.
But one thing's for sure, by the 12th century, Great Zimbabwe was no longer just a collection of villages. It had transformed into this powerful city-state, a testament to the vision and organization of its people.
And what a city it was.
It really is incredible, isn't it?
We're talking these amazing stone enclosures, each with its own unique character and function.
Totally.
There's the hill complex, the valley complex,
Right.
and of course the great enclosure itself.
It's hard to even imagine the scale of it all.
It really is. Like, can you imagine just walking through those spaces, seeing those perfectly placed stones, feeling the history all around you?
It must have been awe-inspiring, to say the least.
Totally. And you know, it wasn't just impressive on a local level. This was a global city.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking trade with far-off lands as evidenced by all those incredible artifacts they've found.
Exactly. They've unearthed Chinese pottery shards, coins from Arabia, beautiful glass beads.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is.
Like, here we have this thriving city in the heart of medieval Africa,
All right.
connected to a vast network that stretched across continents.
It really challenges our modern perceptions of history, doesn't it?
It makes you realize that the past was a much more interconnected place than we often give it credit for.
Absolutely. And this wasn't just small-scale bartering either.
Okay.
Great Zimbabwe was a major player in the gold and ivory trade.
Wow, those are some valuable commodities.
They were in high demand across the globe.
So they had these caravans laden with gold and ivory, making their way to Great Zimbabwe from all over.
Exactly. It was a hub of economic activity, a testament to the ingenuity and entrepreneurial spirit of its people.
It's such a vivid picture, all that gold and ivory flowing into this magnificent city.
It really captures the imagination, doesn't it?
It really does. But, like all good stories, this one has its ups and downs.
Right.
What eventually happened.
Yeah, what led to the decline of such a powerful city?
Why was it ultimately abandoned?
Those are some of the biggest questions surrounding Great Zimbabwe.
And do we know the answers?
Well, that's where things get a little murky. Well, it's not like there's one big dramatic reason, no smoking gun or anything.
Okay.
It seems more like a bunch of different things, all happening at the same time, led to Great Zimbabwe being abandoned.
So like a perfect storm.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, so let's break it down.
Okay.
We've talked about trade routes changing.
Right.
Could that have been a big factor?
It definitely could have.
Wow, so...
Well, think about it.
Okay.
The world is constantly changing, right?
All right.
New trade routes pop up. Maybe some other city becomes really powerful.
Okay.
And suddenly, the flow of goods shifts.
So Great Zimbabwe, which was once in this prime location,
Exactly.
it's now kind of out of the loop.
Exactly. And if those trade routes dry up...
Great Zimbabwe loses its economic lifeline.
Exactly. It's like a port city that gets bypassed by a new canal.
Makes sense.
And on top of that, we have to consider resources.
Like gold.
Exactly. Gold was the engine of their economy.
Right.
If those mines started running dry...
That would have been devastating for them.
Absolutely. It's a classic boom and bust cycle.
It makes you think about how even the most successful societies are still vulnerable.
They are. Every civilization relies on a delicate balance.
A balance between what they take and what they give back.
Exactly. And we can't forget about internal factors either.
You mean like stuff happening within Great Zimbabwe itself?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Okay.
A society as wealthy and as complex as Great Zimbabwe.
Right.
They were bound to have their fair share of internal struggles.
Like power struggles, different factions vying for control.
Exactly. and competition for resources, maybe even disagreements over leadership.
So basically, internal strife can weaken even the strongest empires.
It's one of the oldest stories in the book, isn't it?
It really is. And then on top of all that, you throw in things like climate change.
Oh, right, the wild card.
Yeah, like imagine if they were hit with a series of bad droughts or something.
Where agriculture would have been devastated.
And trade would have suffered too.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been a chain reaction.
So it really does seem like it was a combination of factors that led to the decline of Great Zimbabwe.
That's the most likely scenario, yeah.
Wow. It's kind of sad when you think about it.
It is, but you know what?
Yeah.
Even in its decline, Great Zimbabwe still has so much to teach us.
That's true.
Those ruins, they're not just a pile of rocks, you know.
Right.
They're a testament to human ingenuity, to artistry, to the enduring power of the human spirit.
It's like they're still standing there, centuries later, reminding us of what's possible.
Exactly. Take the Great Enclosure, for example.
Those massive walls.
Those walls are incredible. Some of them are 36 feet high, imagine that.
Wow.
And they stretch for over 800 feet.
It's hard to even comprehend something that big being built without any modern tools.
And remember, no mortar either.
Right, just perfectly cut stones, fitted together with amazing precision.
It's mind-blowing. And it's a testament to the skill and artistry of the Shona people.
They were incredible builders.
They really were. And what about that conical tower?
Oh, yes.
Right.
That's another fascinating piece of the puzzle.
It's like right in the center of the Great Enclosure, this tall, cone-shaped structure.
Exactly. What was its purpose?
Right. Was it a watchtower? A symbol of royal authority? A giant sundial? Who knows?
It's one of those enduring mysteries that makes Great Zimbabwe so captivating.
It really is.
Some archaeologists think it had a ritualistic function.
Like what?
Well, maybe it was connected to the worship of Mwari.
Mwari?
Yeah, the Shona deity.
Interesting.
Others believe it might have been a granary.
A granary? You mean like for storing grain?
Exactly. A symbol of prosperity and abundance.
It's fascinating to think about all the possibilities.
It is, isn't it? We may never know for sure what the conical tower represented.
But that's part of what makes exploring history so much fun, right? The mystery of it all.
Absolutely. It's like trying to piece together a puzzle with some of the pieces missing.
But even without all the pieces, we can still appreciate the beauty and complexity of the picture.
Exactly. And speaking of beauty.
Yes. We can't forget about those enigmatic Zimbabwe birds.
Oh, right. Those soapstone carvings that are now a national symbol of Zimbabwe.
They are indeed. 8 of them were found perched atop these monoliths in the hill complex.
It's like they were watching over the city.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? But their exact meaning is still debated among scholars.
What are some of the theories?
Well, some say they represent the bat-lure eagle.
The bat-lure eagle.
Yeah, it's a powerful bird of prey, known for its keen eyesight and its soaring flight.
So what does that symbolize?
Well, in Shona culture, the bat-lure is often seen as a messenger of the gods, a protector, a symbol of good fortune.
Wow, so those birds might have had deep spiritual significance to the people of Great Zimbabwe.
It's very likely, and it shows how these artifacts, these remnants of the past,
Yeah.
they can give us a glimpse into the beliefs and the worldviews of the people who created them.
It's like holding a piece of their culture in your hands.
Exactly. And the birds aren't the only artifacts that do that.
What else is there?
Well, there are also these incredible figurines carved from soapstone.
Figurines.
Yeah, they depict human forms in all sorts of poses.
What do those represent?
That's another good question. Some archaeologists believe they represent ancestors.
Like important figures from their past.
Exactly. While others think they might be representations of deities or spirits.
So it's like these figurines offer us a window into the spiritual beliefs of the Shona people.
Precisely. It's like we're getting a glimpse into their cosmology, their understanding of the universe, and their place within it.
It's incredible how much we can learn from objects, even small ones that have survived for centuries.
It's amazing, isn't it? And let's not forget about the gold artifacts.
Oh, right. They found a bunch of gold stuff at Great Zimbabwe, too, didn't they?
They did. And not just small trinkets either. I mean, really exquisite pieces.
What kind of stuff?
Well, there are these beautifully crafted gold ornaments, jewelry, ceremonial objects.
And what did those symbolize?
Well, gold has always been a powerful symbol, hasn't it?
Of wealth and status.
Exactly. And power, both within Great Zimbabwe and beyond.
So it wasn't just about aesthetics.
Not at all. These objects had a much deeper meaning.
They were a way for the people of Great Zimbabwe to express their identity, their status, their beliefs.
Precisely. And the discovery of these gold artifacts, along with all the other trade goods we've talked about.
The copper coins, the glass beads, the porcelain.
Exactly. All of that underscores just how important Great Zimbabwe was in that vast trade network.
It really does challenge the traditional narrative of African history, doesn't it?
It does. For a long time, people underestimated the sophistication of African civilizations.
Right, like they couldn't fathom that a place like Great Zimbabwe could exist in Africa.
Exactly. But the evidence speaks for itself.
It does, and it's a powerful reminder that we should always be open to challenging our assumptions.
Absolutely. The past is full of surprises, and we're constantly learning new things.
That's what makes studying history so fascinating. There's always more to discover.
Exactly. And with Great Zimbabwe, we've only just scratched the surface.
That's true. There's still so much we don't know.
But you know what? That's okay. The unknown is part of what makes this all so intriguing.
It keeps us curious. It keeps us asking questions.
Exactly. And who knows what other secrets Great Zimbabwe holds.
That's exciting. It's like there's this whole other world out there just waiting to be explored.
And that's what I love about history. It's a journey of discovery, and we're all along for the ride.
Speaking of journeys,
Yes.
I'm curious to dive a little deeper into the daily lives of the people who lived in Great Zimbabwe.
Okay.
We've talked about their architecture, their trade, their art,
Right.
but what was it actually like to live there?
Ah, that's the real heart of the matter, isn't it? It's easy to get caught up in the grandeur of the ruins.
Yeah, like it was all just some ancient spectacle.
Right, but we have to remember that this was once a living, breathing city.
A place where real people lived, worked, loved, raised families.
Exactly. So imagine, if you will, the sights and sounds of daily life in Great Zimbabwe.
Okay, paint me a picture. What's going on around us?
Well, first of all, it's definitely not quiet.
Oh, I bet.
Imagine marketplaces bustling with activity,
Right.
traders from all over, speaking different languages, bargaining for the best prices.
Ooh, I love a good market.
Yeah, and you've got craftspeople showing off their work, the sounds of hammers hitting metal, maybe a loom going in the background.
And the smells. What's cooking?
Oh, everywhere you go, something delicious. Spices from faraway lands, roasting meat, fresh bread, you name it.
Man, it must have been incredible.
A true feast for the senses.
So even though it was this huge trading hub, people still had a life outside of work, right?
Of course. I mean, they weren't so different from us.
Right.
Imagine families gathering together as the sun sets, maybe sharing a meal, telling stories around a fire.
Yeah, those simple pleasures are universal.
Exactly. And you'd hear music drifting through the air, people laughing and enjoying each other's company.
It's kind of nice to think about them like that, you know?
Yeah, it humanizes the past, you know? These weren't just names in a history book, they were real people.
Living their lives, facing their own challenges and triumphs, just like us.
Exactly, and their legacy, well, it's still felt today.
Yeah, I mean, the country of Zimbabwe is named after this city.
It is, and it's no accident. Great Zimbabwe is a powerful symbol of African achievement.
And it's not just the name, the ingenuity of the builders, the artistry of their crafts, their social structure.
It's all incredibly impressive. Great Zimbabwe really makes us rethink what we thought we knew about the past.
That's what I love about these deep dives, you know? We uncover these hidden histories, these forgotten stories.
And in doing so, we learn a little bit more about ourselves and our place in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. It's not just about dates and names. It's about connecting with the past on a human level.
And realizing that we're all part of this incredible tapestry of human history.
Beautifully said. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Great Zimbabwe, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this?
That's a good question. I think it's this. Never underestimate Africa.
What do you mean?
Well, for too long, African history has been marginalized, dismissed, or even distorted.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But Great Zimbabwe is a testament to the ingenuity, the resilience, and the sheer brilliance of African civilizations.
It really is.
So the next time you hear a story about Africa, approach it with an open mind because you never know what you might discover.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, I think we've done some serious exploring today.
We have. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. But as always, the journey doesn't end here.
There's always more to learn, more to uncover.
Exactly. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep an open mind.
See you next time.